Hello comrades, Comrade Connor here. In this video I shall be explaining what are workers' councils, often also called Soviets historically. In a general sense, workers' councils are governmental councils composed of directly elected and recallable delegates from the workplaces in its jurisdiction. These councils have full legislative and executive power over their own jurisdiction, so the geographical area they're based around. These delegates that make up the councils are elected with a specific mandate composed by the electors of each workplace that the delegate must follow and fulfill. In the case they falter and do not carry out their mandate, then the delegates can be instantly recalled, so basically sacked by a simple majority vote of the electors during a workplace general assembly, after which a new delegate will be elected, meaning that they must represent the people's will, acting as their servants and messengers. This makes delegates different to traditional elected representatives, such as those for the US Congress or the UK Parliament, who are elected for a fixed term and in no way have to carry out anything they've promised and have no obligations to act in the interest of their electors. So what specifically makes these councils workers' councils? It's that these councils draw their authority from the workplaces as they are formed and elected according to the workplaces within a specific area, with general meetings of the workers of each workplace electing a delegate to represent themselves in that council. So, for example, in a city with one workers' council, the council will be composed of the delegates from each of the factories, shops, and schools, etc. in the area, as opposed to several people being elected according to arbitrary and generalized sub-areas of a city just drawn on a map. Additionally, they can be called workers' councils as the delegates that compose these councils are members of each of these workplaces, who have been elected by their co-workers to act as their delegate. This differs to the modern-day capitalist representative democracy in that the representatives in such a system are normally capitalists, members of the upper-class elite, as some would say, rather than being actual workers. This means that workers' councils are highly representative of their electors and the general people, and are thus more democratic. Workers' councils also hold both legislative and executive power over their jurisdiction, meaning that they can make both laws and pass laws, as opposed to having to have two separate bodies for this, such as a Congress and a President. Such streamlines the process and increases the effectiveness of the council system, as it prevents gridlock. Gridlock being where one branch, such as the President, prevents another branch, such as the Congress, from functioning. To further increase the effectiveness of these workers' councils, rather than making these councils meet every day to decide stuff and actively control everything, including day-to-day admin, these councils will elect a form of standing committee composed of some of its members, which will act when the council is not in session, and will sort out the day-to-day administration and decision-making of the council, and of course would be unable to act outside the mandate of the council, and can be recalled by that council if it fails to work within its mandate. On a wider scale than a single council, such as a country-wide scale, workers' councils can form a republic by sending some of their own delegates to regional workers' councils, who in turn can send their own delegates to a district council or even up to a country-wide council that can act as an analogue to a parliament. Each of these lower councils would be able to recall the councils above them to ensure that these councils carry out the wishes of the lower councils and thus the electors of the local councils. Thus, this is a highly representative and accountable form of democracy, where the masses of people, the workers, hold power. In many cases historically, even those who did not have formal work or workplaces, such as women who were still housewives, or the retired and disabled, as they could form their own collectives to be able to receive representation in these councils. Otherwise, large amounts of the population, including those that are part of the working class, may not be represented. Some historical examples of the use of a workers' council system, or at least an altered or related form of such, could be found in the Soviet Union and its neighbouring allies, briefly in many European countries during a wave of failed socialist revolutions, such as but not limited to the 1918 German Revolution and the Hungarian Soviet Republic of 1919. Then other countries, such as Cuba, having a different system, but one seemingly heavily inspired by a Soviet political structure. Councils of a similar nature, with many even being called Soviets, can also be seen in the Free Ukraine territory of 1918 to 1921. Thank you for listening, and if you've enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe.